Welcome to the Rambling Movie Club podcast, where at the end of each episode I give us a movie to go watch, and then 2 weeks later at the next episode we come back and talk about it. This week's movie was Meet the Robinsons. This is one of my favourite Disney movies. I guess I can really relate to it because it's all about a scientist/inventor constantly doing things wrong and trying to do better and better, and that's just my life. With the last episode I tried a slightly different format where, because Endgame was so long, I went through the movie and just kind of broke it down and then talked about like all the bits that I want to talk about like as it worked through the movie, and I'm going to try that format again this time. If you prefer the old format of me just kind of grouping things together and trying things like almost right randomly, let me know, or if you prefer this format, also let me know. On Instagram you can find me at the Rambling Movie Club. So the movie starts with the main character Lewis and his roommate Goob trying to make a peanut butter gun. Kind of works, but then kind of doesn't, and then this is also really fitting for the character, and it's kind of a good introduction to the character. And then as we see, like when it goes wrong, he kind of just like throws the gun away and it's like, no, and then doesn't really go back to it again. And then he starts moving on to his next project, which is the memory scanner, and this is kind of, again, like kind of characteristic Lewis, and it's showing what he's like as an inventor, where when things go wrong, he just gives up and moves on to the next thing. But one thing I really like about when he's making the memory scanner is it shows all the hard work that goes into it. It's not just a case of like, I've got an idea, and the next morning he's finished it. It takes him several days, and he had to go to like university classes, and he goes to the library, and he's trying different versions, and it breaks, and he tries again, and yeah, it just shows like what real invention is kind of like. And then eventually he takes his invention to the contest at the school. To start off with, you've got there's a special scientist judge, you've got the teacher, and then also the coach shows up, and they're like, Coach, what are you doing here? He's like, it's judging a science fair, what does it look like? And it's like, it's my gym. It's like, fair enough. There's so many moments in this movie where like it's just like, they're just brilliant lines, and they just make me like smile, and that's definitely one of them. And the other one as well is when they're like walking around and they see the girl with the fire ants, and they're like, we talked about the fire ants, they bite people, and she's like, only my enemies. It's like, brilliant. And then when Wilbur Robinson bumps into Lewis, he's explaining, being like, watch out for the bowler hat guy. And he's like, and arguing out for the perp, short for perpetrator. I didn't know perp was short for perpetrator. I don't know if that's more of an American word, but yeah. And then when you do finally see the bowler hat guy, he's like the perfect intimidating Disney villain, which I think is really good. Well, he appears to be, and as we kind of go through the movie, we learn he's not, but I think that's really good. And then when Wilbur runs into the girl with the frogs, who we later find out is his mum, and her line is, don't sass me, boy, I know karate. And it's like, yes. And then Lewis shows off his invention to the panel of judges. He's like putting in the dates, and everyone's like, oh, cool. And the coach is like, why that date? And they're all just kind of looking at him being like, what? And he's like, you didn't think I was paying attention, did you? And it's like, go you, coach, like, break those stereotypes. But then everything goes wrong, and Lewis is on the roof, just kind of like thinking about his life choices and being like, I don't want to do this anymore, like, next invention. And he's throwing away his ton of pages, and Wilbur Robinson just keeps throwing them back, and then like puts one in his hand and pretending to be a pigeon. And it's just like, Lewis, like, I know you're not a pigeon. It's just like understatement of the century. Then Wilbur takes Lewis to the future, and then the one thing I really like is the color palette of the future, and how like it's all really bright and colorful, and the saturation's kind of turned up. I'll talk about this a bit more later on, but yeah, it's a really good color scheme. It's also like where for me the soundtrack really kicks in, because it's like a bit where they're not talking and you can really hear the soundtrack, and it's just like such a like positive and like bubbly soundtrack here. Really like it. And again, this is something I'll talk about the soundtrack a bit more towards the end. While Wilbur and Lewis are in the future, the bald hat guy is trying to pass off the invention, and there's a brilliant line where the head of the board of investors is just like, so what are your plans with this invention? And Goob is just like, bowler hat guy is just like, I want to crush the dreams of a poor little orphan boy. After that, I haven't really thought about it, and it's just like, it's so brilliant. And then the bald hat guy messes up the invention. At the same time, Lewis is meeting all the Robinsons. The Robinsons' house is like how you interpret when you go to a friend's house, and like everything's so much more exciting, and all the family are like really nice, despite the fact like chances are your friends' uncles and aunties are probably the same as your uncles and aunties, but like they just like involve you more, and you're like, oh, this is great. So I thought they captured that really well. And then you get to the first Robinson you meet is the granddad, which is, he's the best character, definitely. When it's like, have you seen my teeth? I've been digging holes all day. And it's just like, how mad is this guy? But I love him for being mad. And then as well, you get to meet Adam West as a pizza delivery guy / superhero. And it's like, that is definitely what a child would imagine the future to be like, where a delivery man is a superhero. And then you meet more and more of the family, and there's the bit where the cousins are arguing with their dad, and there's like, no, you'll wake up your mother. And it turns out she's a puppet, and then They're having like an argument with the puppet, and it's like, I'm going for a drive. And the granddad's like, that's weird, she usually takes to Harley. And it's like such a subversion of your expectations, and it's just like really clever. And then of course the brilliant joke of, why is your dog wearing glasses? Because insurance won't pay for contacts. And then they carry on meeting characters, and then they meet the butler Lefty, and it's like my note here is, why is the octopus called Lefty? Like, surely octopuses have equal numbers of legs / arms / tentacles. And then you get to meet Wilbur's mum and the singing frogs, because why not singing frogs? Imagine living in this house with all these people and all these inventors, and it would just be pure chaos and also so much fun because there'd be so much going on. Like, that would be my dream house. So then we go back to the present. The bowler hat guy's messed up the invention, and now he's looking for Lewis, and he's looking around the orphanage, and he bumps into Goob, and the puppy dog guys, when he's in Goob's like saying how everything's gone wrong. And it's just like, oh, it's so cute. Bowler hat guy and Doris are looking on the roof, and brilliant quote where he's like, yes, time travel residue next to a DNA of Wilbur Robinson. That and my stick means... And he's there like thinking, and it's just like, again, a great line. It's so stupid, but yeah, it's great. Bowler hat guy goes to the future and tries to kidnap Lewis while the family are having dinner, and he's coming up with different schemes, and one of the first ones is, I'll blow him up, and it's like, nope, that won't work. And the second scheme's my favourite one, where it's like, I know, I'll turn him into a duck. I don't know how to do that. I don't really need a duck. And it's just like, it's so perfect with his character of just like being so silly and mad. And then you have the meatball fight, which is so good. It's like an ode to like old martial arts movies. And it's like slightly grainy footage, and then also it's complete with badly dubbed audio where the audio's out of sync with the video. It's just like, oh, that's great. And then I think one of the best moments of the movie is like the next scene where he's trying to repair the peanut butter gun again, and he fails, but the whole family celebrate his failure. And like, I think that's such a powerful thing in a kids movie, like teaching kids and anyone really power of failure, and the fact that like it's okay to fail. Like, if anything, it's good because you learn more from it. But also at the same time, how does the mum not recognize her husband? I know as the viewer we're not aware just yet, but she surely must have seen photos of her husband as a child, and also the fact that this guy who looks kind of like her husband is also an orphan. It's like, surely something should twig here. Then the bowler hat guy brings a dinosaur in, and to try and take on Lewis. And again, some of the puns here are brilliant. Like, the auntie goes at the dinosaur with a train and just says, choo choo on this. Like, it's so brilliant. And then you've got Adam West shooting pizza dough at the dinosaur and like catches him. And then the robot six fingers like, yep, this dino's deep dished. And then the family keep fighting the dinosaur. And I love how they thwart the dinosaur by Lewis hiding in a corner, and the dinosaur's head is too big, and so his arms can't reach him. It's just like, again, such a brilliant moment. Like, it's so silly but also perfect. And then the fact that he points this out to bowler hat guy, and it's just like, I have a big head and little arms. Like, how well was this plan thought out? And then Wilbur manages to knock the hat off the dinosaur, and then the hat's taken away by the frogs. And I love the line by bowler hat guy where it's just like, well, little Doris now sleeps with the fishes. Then the family want to adopt Lewis, and to stop them, Wilbur knocks off his hat to reveal his hair. And this is something I've never quite understood. I've watched this movie a few times and I've never quite got it. Like, the whole hair thing from the past, how it's like a giveaway that he's from the past because of his hair. The only thing I can think of is that it's like some sort of invention that like means they don't have to style their hair anymore in the future, but it's never really properly explained. And this is like one of the few problems I have with this movie, because it's just like, I don't understand that point. So then Lewis is taken back to the present by the bowler hat guy, and all the revelations happen. And again, like, I didn't see any of these revelations happen. When I've watched this with other people, they get it straight away, and I'm just like, oh, I wish I'd done that. But I think it's just I was so wrapped up in the story, I was like, I don't care, like, I'm just having a good time. Like, and then when the twist, I was like, oh my god, I didn't see those coming. So I didn't see it coming that Lewis is going to be Wilbur's dad, and the fact that bowler hat guy is Goob, his old roommate. And I was just like, it makes so much sense, and it's such a really good payoff. And also it makes perfect sense from what we saw at the start, where Lewis is always keeping him up and causing problems for Goob. So chances are at the time he was also having problems and blaming them on Lewis, so it makes sense that he would have kept doing that for the rest of his life. So it's just such a good character moment, and also kind of like, this is almost like the turning point for both of their character arcs, which is quite cool. And then I love the line when Goob reveals himself and takes off his clothes to show off his baseball outfit, and Lewis is like, ew, and he's like, I know, I'm disgusting, but one learns to love it. And it's just like, yes, you own your disgustingness. And then you get the flashbacks of Goob back in school, and he's like walking through the corridors, and it's like, all the kids hated me. The kids are like, oh, nice binder, Goob. Oh, hey, Goob, want to come to my house? And it's just like, yes, like, again, subverting expectations. And then you've got Lewis calls bowler hat guy Goob, and it's just like, don't call me Goob. How many evil villains do you know that can pull off a name like Goob? It's just like such a brilliant line, and also like a throwback to like so many other evil villain movies. And then you cap it all off, you've then got Lewis's keep moving forward moment, which is like such a powerful moment when he finally realizes what the rest of the family have been saying about how like you shouldn't let your problems get in the way. And as he's seen like Goob's problems have got so in the way that he's turned into this like Disney villain, literally. And it's just like, yeah, such a powerful moment, and like that really resonated with me. And then Goob / the bowler hat guy, who I'm going to call Goobler hat guy because I don't know what to call him, he then wins and ruins the future when Doris takes over, so Lewis has to stop him and goes back to the future and takes Goobler hat guy back as well, and so and then Lewis can say goodbye to the family. I also love the send off with the future Goobler hat guy, whatever you want to call him, where he's like, he convinces Wilbur to accept him into the family and be like, hey, Goob, do you want, or it calls him Mr. Yagoobian. It's like, hey, you want to be a Robinson? But he's disappeared and he's like off trying to find himself again. And it's like, that's, again, like, it's a really good completion of his arc. I really like that. So then, yeah, Lewis is saying goodbye to all the family and gets to meet his future self, which is a really good payoff as well, because I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought it'd kind of be kept separate because time travel. But time travel in general has done really well in this movie, to be honest. Much better than Endgame, anyway. The one thing I want to know is what happens when Lewis meets his mum, because, like, the way future Lewis talks about it, it's almost like they do meet, but it doesn't go well. So I really want to know what happens there. I love as well that as he's saying goodbye, you see all the family in the background. There's also the dinosaur right at the back, and I was like, I hope they keep the dinosaur. But would it mess up the time stream? Like, who knows? But if Avengers Endgame is anything to go by, then you could basically do whatever you want and not care. If this movie actually follows the rules of time travel, then... And the other thing as well, I want to know what it's going to be like when Lewis finally meets the family, because, like, is he going to pretend that he doesn't know who all these, like, uncles and aunties are, and be like, oh, hey, it's nice to meet you for the first time, when he's, like, knows a lot about them already. And then Wilbur takes him back in time to meet his mum, and it's such a powerful moment that he doesn't try and meet his mum. The fact that he kind of accepts the family he's got, rather than chasing this person that gave him up. It's very similar to, like, Shazam as well. I feel like this is slightly better done. Like, he's already accepted the family before, and it's like, it's his choice to turn down his mum, whereas in Shazam, spoilers if you haven't seen Shazam, in Shazam, it's more a case of his mum's such a, like, everything's going wrong in her life that he's like, actually, I'm better off without her. Which again is a powerful moment, but I just think it's done slightly better with Meet the Robinsons. Also, this is where you see the colour palette come back in, and I think this is really cleverly done. How, rather than saying, like, you've got these three distinct time periods. You've got past, when his mum drops him off, present with the science fair, and then you got the future with the Robinsons. And rather than being like, this is this year, instead they use the colour palettes to tell it, and I think that's really clever. Like the fact they kind of like desaturate, make everything like brown and grey and black in the past, make everything kind of normal colours in the present, and then make everything bright, colourful, turn up the saturation in the future. Just as it's almost like the way Lewis sees the world, and that the fact that he sees the future as like slightly better, especially towards the end, he sees the future as much better than the past, so you would see it with like more colours. And I think that's, it's just a really clever way of storytelling. And then Lewis jumps back to the present and he says goodbye to Wilbur. I think it's really sweet that he wakes up Goob to win the game, just because he saw what his effects on Goob were, and the fact that like he chose to undo that, which I think is really cool. And then you see them like have a nice parting of ways moment right at the end. Again, there was more surprises that I didn't see coming at all. The fact that the scientist turns out to be his future mum. You get to see the granddad, which is his dad, in the memory scanner. And I was just like, ah. And then at the same time, a frog jumps on the coach's face, and you realise that that's his wife. And it's just like, ah. Like, it's all so perfect, like, it was so cleverly done, like, cleverly set up, and I really loved it. I really love this movie, as you can probably tell. And then, like, you get to see kind of, like, what happens, like, slightly in the future, but also you kind of know what's going to happen, because we've jumped really far into the future. While you're seeing this with him, like, packing his stuff up and moving away with his new parents, this is textbook colour theory. So basically, colour theory is with things like video and photos, how different colours have different effects. So yellow is like warm and happy, and blue is like cold and not so happy. So in this, like, it's like sunset light and everything's like quite golden, and like so you feel really happy and positive. And it's just, again, like really clever and really good use of colour. But also I really like this moment because you kind of see, like, at the start where he's at the science fair and everything's going wrong, and literally like a few moments later when he comes in the present time, and a few moments later his whole life changes. Like, he's already becoming an inventor, he's met his family, he's met his future wife, like, and it just goes to show, like, even when things are going wrong, like, if you keep moving forward, then it can have like a really good effect, and you never know where it's going to lead. And then you see him go off with his parents and live happily ever after. The ending song always gets to me. and it's just like, oh, 'cause it's like so perfect. Again, like with the, as I said before, like with the future music and general music, to be honest, with this movie, this last song kicking in, like, it's just like, ugh, right in the feels. And it always makes me tear up slightly. And then especially because it then finishes with a quote from Walt Disney, which I was like, oh, that's a perfect way to finish this movie. And it's just like, oh, right in the heart. And then you get the final song, which again I think kind of tops off the experience, which is performed by All American Rejects for the credits song, which I did not see coming. And I think the first few times I watched it, I didn't pick up on that. Everyone's emo band, All American Rejects. So as much as I love this movie, and I kind of just talked about all the things I absolutely love about this movie, there were two big things that kind of I had a problem with, and this is just me being picky. Again, like, they're not like deal breakers or anything. One of them's kind of messed up, but I'll explain that in a minute. The first one is when Lewis goes into the future. So as we find out, Lewis is the like creator of this future, because it's like he's jumped forward like 20-30 years, and like you see he's come up with all these crazy inventions, and you've got these like pipe tubes for getting around, you've got the bubbles, you've got buildings that can literally just pop up like a pop-up tent. The only problem with this I've got is the adoption rate would have to be crazy high. Now if you don't know what adoption rate is how fast people pick up new technologies. So things like the iPhone had quite a high adoption rate, so it meant smartphone technology and touchscreens jumped forward like very fast, whereas touchscreens had been around for like 10 years before the iPhone came out, but nobody picked them up because didn't really like them, so the adoption rate was really low, and so the technology didn't take off. So for this technology to basically revolutionize like entire life within 30 years, like the adoption rate would have to be so high. But again, it's a kid's story, so yeah, they can kind of do whatever they want. And second problem I got, and this one is a little bit messed up, is Lewis's relationship with his wife, or future wife, / Mrs. Robinson. And basically, throughout the whole movie, he sees her as a mother figure. And the fact that like she's going to adopt him kind of reinforces that, and like the fact that he calls her mum at one point, but then she eventually becomes his wife. And so like that's kind of a messed up dynamic. Like this woman he saw as his mother is now his wife. But does he still have motherly feelings for her? Like, is this kind of proving Freud right and showing that some men are in love with their mothers? But again, I really like this movie. It's, like I said, it's one of my favourite Disney movies, and it's a really good movie to watch if you're ever feeling down or if things aren't going quite right. Like, it's a really good movie to watch, and you'd be like, yes, like, I can do it. I can take on the world. And especially that message of keep moving forward. Like, it stuck with me and resonated with me really well after this movie. I found a poster online, and it was like a fan designed poster. It had like the Robinsons logo and like pictures of like Doris and stuff, and it just said keep moving forward. And I printed that off and put it above my desk so that like whenever I'm stuck on things, like I've kind of got it there. I just look at it and like keep moving forward. And so now, even without that poster, if I'm trying to do something and I'm struggling, it just like pops straight into my head, and I'm just like keep moving forward. And I just think, yeah, that's really powerful. And especially it's a really good message to teach to kids, and like I said, to anyone really, but it's not something you see very often. Keep moving forward, like get through the bad stuff and you'll soon get to the good stuff. So that was Meet the Robinsons. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not? Do you agree? Do you wish Goob had turned Wilbur and Lewis into a duck? Like, that could have been interesting to see, I think. So next week's movie, we're going to kind of mix it up. And, well, I say mix it up. Basically, I've been waiting for this movie to come out for about 6 months, and it's finally here. And it's Detective Pikachu. Share the trailer and stuff from the movie the other day on Instagram if you haven't seen it. Basically, Detective Pikachu is set in the Pokemon world. So for anyone who played Pokemon, it's like a live-action Pokemon movie. You've got human characters played by actors, and then you also got like CGI Pokemon like interacting with them. And it's all about a Pikachu who's a detective played by Ryan Reynolds. You couldn't ask for better casting. Basically, he wakes up with no memory. The only thing he's got is this hat, which has an address in it, which takes him to this police detective. Then they've got to go solve a mystery. And basically, there's all Pokemon from lots of different generations of Pokemon, and like you got things like Bulbasaur there, and like you got a Snorlax asleep in a cycle lane. So it looks like it's going to be a really, really good movie, and I'm really excited for it. So tune in next episode for Detective Pikachu. As always, you can find me at Rambling Movie Club on Instagram if you want to come chat to me and share your thoughts on this movie, and also if you want to suggest any movies for the future. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next time.